As we all know, the Phoenix Suns are wanting to keep this big three intact this summer. Matt Ishbia, James Jones, Mike Budenholzer want to work with this squad, but after a disappointing first-round exit and a salary cap that is very, very expensive, could the Suns be parting with one of their stars, in particularly Kevin Durant, as he could be seeking another trade after a disappointing season with this team? We'll be breaking down, looking at all of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz. Before we dive in, though, before we get into all of this news, around 88% of you guys who watch our videos are not subscribed. And CJ and I have been appreciative of you guys dropping that number down. If you guys make sure you want to stay up to date on everything revolving around this team, hit that subscribe button, as this is the centralized place for Suns news and Suns topics. Without further ado, though, let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack, as it's going to be a jam-packed episode. And like I mentioned in the introduction, we're going to be looking at the possibility of a Kevin Durant trade. And we're going to be looking at an article that proposed a trade that I think is a little bit ridiculous, in my opinion. But we're going to have to dive in. We're going to look at it, and let's get into that for you guys here. Kevin Durant trade imminent. Phoenix Suns face major offseason overhaul. This article seems to think that with the Suns' salary cap issues being a huge problem for the future, that a team like the Suns might look to trade one of their stars, and one of those guys being Kevin Durant. Now, if we want to look at the Phoenix Suns payroll, we can see from this graphic and from what CJ and I have brought up and talked about that this team is star heavy and loaded with salary. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal all making around $50 million, which takes up about $150 of the $184 million that you would have to take to be on the second apron. Therefore, it doesn't allow a lot of flexibility, a lot of other guys on this team to make a bunch of money besides, Jusuf Nurkic, which is why he's a trade candidate, and ultimately allows this team to be looking around the veteran minimums. Therefore, this article kind of thinks that a trade should be soon and says that Kevin Durant could be the one to want out, because we kind of mentioned in the introduction, when things don't go great for Kevin Durant, he always tries and finds himself to leave. So let's dive into this article looking at it here. They say, despite the high hopes for a deep playoff run, Durant and his team fell short in the first round due to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now the Suns are staring at a daunting $194 million payroll, surpassing the second apron threshold of $190 million, and the pressure is mounting. NBA analyst Stephen A. Smith recently highlighted the growing tension within the Suns on First Take, saying that he went more than a month without talking to the head coach, and that he says he does not look happy there. You gotta disband the group. This was Kevin Durant talking about Frank Vogel, talking about how their head coach, wasn't the greatest. Kevin Durant, and we stated this multiple times on this show here, talking about Kevin Durant, talking about how he felt like he was using the corner too much. He felt like he wasn't a prime star with this team, and that was very, very frustrating for him on the offensive side. That's why I think, realistically, everything went bad with Frank Vogel, and why they looked to move off of a guy in Frank Vogel was due to the fact that guys like Kevin Durant and players on this Suns team necessarily didn't jive with him, or didn't really necessarily find his offensive scheme great. That's why bringing in Mike Budenholzer, I think, was the smart decision for this team, and ultimately why I think that this isn't a big of an issue as some people may think. These claims paint a picture for Durant's future with the team, and further complicated by the Suns' inability to sign free agents due to their financial status. The absence of a reliable rim protector only exacerbates their woes. And we've kind of broken that down and kind of talked about it on this episode, on this show here multiple times, CJ and I, breaking down how the Suns do need a rim protector, and how possibly, when looking at, when looking at this payroll, when looking at this team, when looking at a guy like Jusuf Nurkic, that could be a contract that could be possibly moved. Now, obviously, we might have to give up some draft capital with that, and with the Suns not having a lot of draft capital, that's not the greatest. But kind of going back into this article and kind of looking at this team, kind of looking at what this writer proposes, they propose a trade that I think makes no sense for the Phoenix Suns, and that's why we're going to get into this part here, where they talk about Kevin Durant returning to Golden State. With Klay Thompson's future uncertain and the Warriors' own luxury tax issues, acquiring Durant would require sacrificing their young core to match its $51.2 million salary for next year. The high-stakes gamble could either reignite their championship aspirations or further plunge them into turmoil. So this article seems to think that with Kevin Durant going back to Golden State for a possible reunion with Steph Curry, that it'd be able to change the narrative for Kevin Durant. It would be able to change history for him, and he'd be able to try to win something. The Warriors are not the powerhouse they once were, obviously, as they were the 10th seed this year and eliminated before even making the playoffs. But with their performance faltering and their one-match dominance fading, for Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and potentially Klay Thompson, a final push to reclaim their glory might hinge on reuniting with Durant. However, the feasibility of this move remains questionable, with many obstacles in their path. Obviously, as the Suns and Warriors navigate through these turbulent waters, the NBA world watches closely. Will the Suns part ways with Durant to rebuild, or will the Warriors risk it all for a shot at redemption? The answer will shape the future of both franchises in this high-stakes off-season drama. Seems like this article wants to paint more of a narrative of their own in trying to get this trade actually done than either Kevin Durant or the Warriors would be inclined to do so. When looking at this realistically makes absolutely zero sense for the Phoenix Suns. If you're the Phoenix Suns, why would you go out there and trade Kevin Durant, who's a all-star type level player, an all-NBA type guy, just to get some young players in return? Yes, we want to go into that youth movement, but if we want to look at the salary cap like we did with the Warriors or the Suns, we also have the Warriors salary cap here. Would the Suns be really interested in Chris Paul at $30 million when they traded him last year for $30 million? Definitely not. Are they going to be interested, in Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green for Kevin Durant? Most likely not. The most likely trade candidate that's going to have to come out of doing this trade is Klay Thompson, who, again, is looking for an extension. So it'd have to be a sign-in trade. The Suns would then have to trade Kevin Durant for Klay Thompson, maybe a young role player in a guy like Jonathan Kuminga who could, come over and help out and be a star player. And then they'd have to get some young assets. Now, obviously, with this Suns team already being constructed how they are, with Booker and Beal and having no point guard, how do you think Suns fans would react, or how do you think CJ and I, or you guys, would react if they brought in Klay Thompson, a guy who went 0 for 10 in his last game for the Golden State Warriors from three-point range, another three-point specialist, to help out alongside two guys who already are that position at the two guard, and we're still stuck in our rut of no point guard? I think it's absolutely disastrous. And if we want to look at the stats here, we can see, looking at Kevin Durant's stats, 27 points per game this year, 6.6 rebounds, 5 assists, on 1.2 blocks, 0.9 steals, did have 3 turnovers a game and 1.8 fouls, but look at that field goal percentage, 52% from the field, 41% from 3. At age 35, he still consistently can shoot 46% on corner threes, where 81% of his threes are assisted, and 28% of all of his shots are three-pointers. We want to look at Klay Thompson. Look at that drastic difference. 27 points to 17 points per game. Oh, Jesus. 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 0.5 blocks, 0.6 steals, 1 turnover, 1.6 field goals. Yes, he has a worse field goal percentage, worse three-point percentage, shot worse on corner threes this year. This just doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense for Suns fans, and I hope that you guys can agree. So drop down your thoughts down below in the comment section here. But honestly, I think that the Suns are going to keep this big three intact, and they're going to make some moves around the edges, like CJ and I have mentioned. This payroll is deep with this squad, with Durant, Beal, and Booker making a crap load of money, not going to lie. But with the assumption of bringing Royce O'Neal back, having Grayson Allen already extended on this team, guys like Yusuf Nurkic, Nazir Little, I would not be shocked, are going to be shopped at the trade deadline, if not moved at the trade deadline. And we'll have to see what the Suns do with their pick. We've heard the reports. We've heard the rumors. They're going to keep their pick. They're going to try to draft Bronny. They're going to try to stay competent. But we've also heard, the rumors. We've also heard everything about the Suns, trading their pick and letting go of their pick. And we're not keeping any first rounders. So ultimately, it's a lot of confusion with the Suns team. If you want to make sure you stay up to date with everything revolving around this team, the draft coming up, off-season, trades, possible rumors, coaching stuff, this is the place for you. This is the centralized hub. Check out the other videos at the top. If you guys, this is your first video, hit that subscribe button, as CJ and I are pushing for 1,000 subscribers, guys. And we are so close away, less than 250 subscribers. We can't do it without your guys' help. Once again, this Kevin Durant trade, I think, is a little bit crazy, a little bit blasphemous. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Once again, I'm Bruce Velez. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns.